Well, we are going to cherish it. It's the oldest symbol of Muslim Judaism. And reminds us how our heart is. And if you repeat after me the blessing, Baruch Atah Adonai Dayan Ha'emet. Blessed are you, eternal God. So you'll keep me company.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, if you can please kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you. I've learned that in times of separation and loss and sorrow, the Psalms can bring much comfort and solace. In this spirit, I now recite from the 23rd Psalm, this great Psalm of faith. And these words remind us that even when we feel alone or lonely, we are never truly alone, for God is with us. And we know that God is with your mom, Dodie, and with David, and they're now together again. You may join me if you wish. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I continue with a modern day poem, which we read at our synagogue from time to time, but I would like to personalize it for Dolores, Dodie. That's the last time I'll call her Dolores. At the rising of the sun and at its going down, we will remember Dodie. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember her. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we will remember Dodie. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. At the beginning of the year, and when it ends, we will remember her. As long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, when we are lost and sick at heart, when we have joy we crave to share, when we have decisions that are difficult to make, when we have achievements that are based on hers and theirs, we will remember her. As long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. We will remember Dolores, Dodie, Dodo for the great grandkids. She was memorable. She was unique. She was one of kind, and she was one strong lady with a kind and compassionate heart. To know Dodie was and is to love her, and everyone did. She was fun. She was funny. She had a quick wit and told a joke at any opportunity. Dodie had a good mind, a mind of her own. Her family said she had no filter. And she called everyone darling or sweetie pie, and everyone knew her, myself included. That is why our loss is sad, and it is difficult, and it is profound, because Dodie was such a constant and a vibrant presence in your lives, and she was always there for you, her family and friends. She was ready to offer assistance, to help, to show care and concern. Indeed, the greatest joy in life is to be able to say, I still have something to do, I want to accomplish yet more, and so she did. So I believe that Dodie might say to us now, at this moment, thank you for being here. And then she might go on to say, I led a long life, most of which I don't remember. Because she actually said that. And then she might continue to say, don't mourn for me, for I did not lead a mournful life. And you know, in the balance, she certainly did not. She led a full, fulfilling, meaningful, purposeful, and good life. So today we do remember and we honor Dodie, and we tell her good story of a life well lived. To begin with, Dodie cared about her appearance. She was well put together, with her hair styled, her makeup applied, her nails manicured for every occasion or for no occasion. However, Dodie cared more deeply about everyone else. We realize how much she taught us in terms of her giving and caring and loving. She had many interests and passions. First and foremost, she loved shopping. And I understand she was such a frequent customer at Macy's that they wrapped all of her purchases for free. And she loved mahjong and going on cruises with David. And she was a good cook, but She loved going out to eat, like Hansio's, or the pub, or you fill in the blank. And she loved to throw parties, and even gave a party for her 16-year-old Chihuahua. She knew how to give a party. What was the Chihuahua's name? Do you? Oh, okay. You'll get to that. I don't want to give any more away. Okay. In a sentence, Dodie loved life and living, and she had so much to live for, namely, all of you. However, one cannot speak of Dodie without also speaking of David, her devoted and loving husband of 54 years. They first met in the Catskills, where they were both vacationing. David was from Philadelphia. He was a World War II veteran. He was 10 years her senior. And Dodie was a Brooklyn girl from East 18th and Avenue U, which is also known as the center of the universe. Anybody else from Brooklyn? No. Then you don't get that. Okay. They truly complemented one another, even though David was a little more frugal and Dodie was not. However, in time, she really wore him down in a good way. And over their 54 years of marriage, they evolved into a real team, a true partnership, best friends, soulmates. When David died, part of Dodie died as well, but she gathered her inner strength and she did what she needed to do, which was to go on and to live as independently as possible. And how Dodie loved you, her family. She would do anything and everything for you, and you for her. I know how very close all of you are, and she was the glue that held family together. Michael and Kelly and Mitchell and the grandchildren, Jordan, and I'm of course including Peter, who's involved in child care right now, and Taylor, but he can hear everything. Taylor, Devin, Rachel, and great-grandchildren, Ellie, who is, she's wearing braids like Anna today. So I gave her the name Ellie Anna. That's a nice name. And Charlie. All of you will carry with you always so many warm, rich, and good memories of your mom, of Dodie, of Dodo, and all of your sacred stories and precious memories can never, ever be taken away. And she will live on in you, and through you, and through us. Over the past 5 years, Dodie's health has been gradually declining, although she enjoyed a good quality of life. And toward the end, each and every one of you were able to be with her, and she knew you were there, and she could tell each of you once again, I love you. And love is the word. She loved. She was loved in turn. And we know that this love has not ended now with her passing. Life must go on. Our lives must resume a kind of natural order, but our love for Dodie will enrich and ennoble the meaning of all that we do. For as long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. And to keep those memories going, I am going to first call on Michael.
First, I want to thank everyone for coming. This is a difficult time. People are sick. Streaming into so many people have been calling me. But to be here and honor my mom, my family is tremendously grateful. Mom was doting to everyone, even her grandchildren. Ellie called her Dodo because that's all we could expect out of a 2-year-old. A little bit closer, can you hear me now? I'm sorry. I still call her Mom, I still call her Dodie, and she had for reasons I never explored, she called me Pussyface. She was a force, she was one of a kind, she was she was an intelligent woman, she had a quick wit, no filter whatsoever, and she was a supportive friend of many. She had a laugh and a personality that would liven up any room she walked into. And her Brooklyn breeding was evident. She was in charge and no task was impossible. She loved life and she loved living. And I'm used to hearing stories throughout from not just family and friends, but strangers, salespeople at department stores, waitresses, where she has helped them. And she had an ability to treat people with kindness, compassion, and generosity. She instilled in me a sense of purpose. Be the best you can be the best you. She encouraged me growing up to try everything. Do not worry about failing. Live life. So what? What happens? Who cares? As the rabbi said, she graduated high school in Brooklyn at 16, and a couple of years later she met my dad in the Catskills. My dad was 10 years her senior, and he was a veteran in Normandy, and he was a lifelong disabled vet. And she was his everything. She had me and my brother in her early 20s, and she was a fun mom. She would take us to Radio City Music Hall when we were 7, 8 to see the Rockettes. She was the den mother for Cub Scouts. She was a schoolroom mother. And she was a Halloween crazy mom. We used to go out trick-or-treating. My brother and I, we have to be back at a certain time, not necessarily because of safety reasons, but so that she can get in her costume and go out and knock on the doors of her friends for all hours of the night. And you'll see some pictures out there of her dressing in various costumes. Our childhood home was an open door where everyone was welcome at any time. A few friends have shared with me that they looked at her as a second mom because she took such an interest and she loved them as if they were their own. I have so many great memories, it's impossible to cite all my favorites, but 2 come to mind. One was when, on my 14th, 15th, and 16th birthday, she made a tradition of taking me out of school and we'd spend the day together. But what started as we would go to Chevy dealers, and my mom would convince them that she's looking to trade in her station wagon for a Corvette. So she would get in the car. Those days they didn't go with her. She'd get in the car, get in the passenger seat. We'd find a parking lot not far away. She'd let me drive, and I spent the next half hour driving the cars. My second favorite memory has to do with her. She did love giving parties, surprise birthday parties, anniversary parties, graduation parties, mahjong parties. But I remember being in college, and I was only an hour and a half away, and she called me, "You make sure that I'm going to be there Sunday." Because Sunday she was giving a catered Sweet 16 party to Tammy. Tammy was our chihuahua. And while the girls were looking through pictures at her house last night, they brought me a picture of my brother and I, about 9 to 7 years old, holding Tammy. And on the back, Dodie wrote, "Tammy and Friends." May 1966. My dad never made a lot of money, but we traveled, we went on cruises, we went on trips to Florida. He rented us a couple summers a one-floor apartment in Atlantic City, and then he would come on weekends when he wasn't working. My mom took us to the beach, took us to the boardwalk, took us to shows, took us to rides. She was just had boundless energy. Dad was a saver. Mom was a spender, and she spent on everyone. I remember a few years ago when she was in the hospital, and her doctor came in to see her on a consult, and she could not believe she said it right to him, no filter. For a doctor your stature, that's a terrible show. And as soon as she was discharged, she ran over to Lee Newman and she bought a real nice shirt, gave it to him when she had her next visit. And all you always tell me how whenever she was scheduled to visit, he would wear that shirt. She took care of her parents when they were in their 90s. They lived in Florida. She would go back and forth. And then after that, my dad got sick, and she took care of him, spending every day at the nursing home, every hour with him. After losing her parents and my dad, she, within months, moved to Centennial, which was right around the corner from where my family lives, so that she could be closer to them. It was a blessing that I was able to see her almost every day. And even though her health was declining and she started having early dementia, she never lost her wit and sense of humor. Again, with no filter. When hospice brought her home Friday night, she was heavily sedated, and we really couldn't communicate with her. Saturday, all my girls were there, and it was very, they were cracking jokes, and my daughters and my wife were making sure she was comfortable and hydrated, doing all the things that I couldn't do. And she was smiling during the day Saturday. We were making jokes. She was trying to crack a smile. And then it got really quiet for a number of hours, and we were leaving about 1 a.m. to go home. And Devin was with her at that moment and saying, "Dodie, do you need water? Do you need Gatorade? Do you need a blanket? Are you comfortable? Anything I can get you? Or should I shut the F up?" And for the first time in 6 hours, Dodie said, "Shut the F up," and cracked a smile. She did pass that evening, Sunday, and we were all able to be there. I am so grateful to my wife and my children who stayed by her side and kept her comfortable, not just recently, all the time. And from a parent perspective, it's amazing to see the children you raise exhibit the selflessness and the love they possess. I also want to thank her caretakers, Kim, Ashley, and June, because without them, the quality of her life would have been greatly diminished. They treated her like family, and she loved them like family. I know she's in peace right now, and she's probably telling my dad if she's with him, "Okay, here are the new rules." Thank you, Mom. I miss you. I love you. And I'm proud to be a mama's boy. And I don't have that many pages. It's just my wife printed them up in big letters so I could actually read them. Thank you.
I am going to call on all of the granddaughters at this time.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Rachel's my backup. Dodie was an absolute star. She lit up every room she walked into and could make friends within minutes of meeting. She didn't have bad hair days, and her eyebrows were always drawn on perfectly. She was the best dressed grandmother at Grandparents' Day, along with just about every other occasion. And her personality was as vibrant as her clothes, as you can see here. was always so excited getting to introduce Dodie to our friends because we knew she would be the life of the party, and she was. We were so lucky to grow up around our grandparents. We didn't just see them twice a year. They were a part of everything we did and attended all of our recitals, graduations, birthday parties, bat mitzvahs, and so on. Dodie willingly would watch us perform the same dance over and over again and enjoyed it every time like it was the first. Dodie was an incredibly fun grandmother and willing to do just about anything, which I'm sure I don't have to tell any of you. Even the title grandmother sometimes felt like it aged her too much because she felt more like another friend who was just there to have a good time. She made the holidays more lively and obviously much, much louder. She dressed up with us for Halloween and loved to watch us look around the house frantically for the afikomen so we could win the $20 reward. I wonder where we learned that from. Every phone call started with Sweetie Pie, and you never had to second guess her love for you because she told you constantly. Or if she really loved you, she probably had a choice nickname for you as well, which may or may not have included a bad word. Surprising to no one who knew her, Dodie was constantly joking around. And I can't share most of these jokes or stories because I'm not sure that they'd be appropriate in front of a rabbi. But I'm confident you all have some of your own that come to mind as you think of her sense of humor. Dodie had a handful of zingers ready to go and delivered them perfectly. And if you were smart enough to give it back to her, you were rewarded with the most infectious and loud laugh of hers. She had no filter, and it was endlessly refreshing. She was the cool grandma. Whenever asked what she wanted, as a gift or otherwise, she'd say money, which is ironic because she used to sneak it to us as kids when my parents weren't looking. As we had gotten older, she would jokingly ask us to get her some money from my dad, which I'm sure she told her caregivers as well. It later became a long-standing joke that I'd send her a card for her birthday every year with just $1 bill in it, telling her to spend it wisely. Those dollar bills remained in her dresser drawer, along with just about every card she was ever given by those who loved her. And there are literally hundreds of cards. It goes without saying, but Dodie loved her family more than anything, and that included her friends who she considered family. Her sons were her babies, and she still called them that as grown men in their 60s. Dodie's face lit up when she got a surprise visit from her grandkids, and in the past few years, her great-grandkids. I think at times she was overwhelmed by how lucky she had been to watch her granddaughter have children of her own. She constantly would say, "God bless me, I can't believe it." We know there are so many friends and family who could not be here physically to celebrate Dodie, but we very much feel the love of all of you watching from home. And we'd love to hear the stories you have to share about her in the days and weeks to come. Lastly, I want to express our gratitude. We've watched our dad work tirelessly to ensure that Dodie had the absolute best care, moving her in around the block, finding her amazing caregivers, and visiting her just about every day. Dodie's comfort and happiness were the most important thing to him. And we know we were only lucky enough to have her around for as long as we did because of his efforts and his love. And to her caregivers, who were her extended family, there is no doubt that her later years were enhanced by your love and your company, that her room was brightened by the holiday decorations you would hang up just for her, and that she was grateful to be in your care. Dodie, we love you so much and miss you already, But we're so happy that you are now with your loving parents, your sister Beverly, and our beloved grandpa.
I'd like to include this poem, which I think is so very appropriate for her and her philosophy of life. I'd like to read it almost as if she would be responding to the beautiful words from her family. Don't grieve for me, for now I'm free. I'm following the path God laid for me. I took God's hand when I heard God call. I turned my back and left it all. I could not stay another day to laugh, to love, to work or play. Task left undone must stay that way. I found that place at the close of day. If my parting has left a void, then fill it with remembered joy. A friendship shared, a laugh, a kiss, ah yes, these things I too will miss. Be not burdened with times of sorrow. I wish you the sunshine of tomorrow. My life's been full, I savored much. Good friends, good times, a loved one's touch. Perhaps my time seemed all too brief. Don't lengthen it now with undue grief. Lift up your heart and share with me. God wanted me now. God set me free. Let us all rise. I conclude with this traditional prayer. I'll read it first in Hebrew and then the English. El More Rachamim, Shochein Bam Romim, Chamitzei Menucha Nachona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Lenishmat Dolores Dansky, Shachalacha La'olama. Ba'al harakamim yitzror bitra hachayim et nishmata. Adonai hu nachalata v'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava v'namar Amen. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest unto the soul of our beloved Dodi, who has departed from this world. Lord of mercy, bring her into your presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be thou her possession, and may she rest in peace. And may they rest in peace together. Amen. You may be seated. I have been announced, or asked to announce, that the family will be observing Shiva later today at the home of Michael and Kelly, 15 Callison Lane in Voorhees, beginning at 3 p.m. And it will be a really beautiful opportunity to share your own memories and stories of Dodi. And they do request that you wear masks at the Shiva. Thanks.
pallbearers please step to the center aisle. And I'll ask if we can rise once more, please.